Coming up next on Access Framingham, Ireland, with my special guest, Jamie Jensen. Stay tuned. Hello, I'm Jack Barron, host of Travels with Jack on Access Framingham TV, where guests share with our audience a recent trip, a vacation, a cruise, or maybe a day trip right here in New England. You'll see their photos and hear about the exciting places they have visited. My guest today is Jamie Jensen. Jamie visited Travels with Jack in February of 2017 when she showed us her beautiful photos from Denmark. In October of 2018, Jamie toured Ireland with a good friend from college. She returns to Travels with Jack today to share her exciting tour of the Emerald Island with you. What parts of the world have you visited? Please be my guest on Travels with Jack and share your travel experience with our viewing audience. Just contact us here at Access Framingham Television and let us know you'd like to be a guest. You can phone AFTV at 508-875-5434, or you can send me an email message to info@accessfram.tv. One of our associate producers will contact you to make arrangements for you to be on our show here on Access Framingham TV. If you do not live in Massachusetts, we would be pleased to assist with your travel to the Access Framingham studios. And now, let me welcome Jamie back to Travels with Jack.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
From Denmark to Ireland.
Yes.
Well, let me give the audience a little bit of a reminder. Those who saw your earlier show may remember. Jamie is currently living in Newton and is originally from Framingham. She is a community social worker at the Brookline Senior Center, and she oversees a very unique program. We were talking about it before the show began, where she essentially matches home care workers with senior citizens who need help with home care. So I'm considered a senior. I know I look young. But if I needed somebody to help take me to the supermarket, pick up my groceries, go get my dry cleaning, drive me to the doctor, I'd call you and you'd find me somebody who'd put up with me for a few hours and help me with those things. Right. Am I right?
Only if you were in Brookline.
Only if I'm in Brookline, okay. All right, so I wanted to explain that. Jamie is also connected with the Callahan Center here in Framingham, and she runs the Continuing Connection program at Callahan. And Jamie took this trip to Ireland, which I have to tell everybody is one of my favorite countries in the world. And she took it with a college friend and left her new husband, who she had taken to Denmark. I asked her, I said, I remember. Yep. And she married him, but she left him home with the pet rabbits.
Yes.
So much for modern marriage. So let's see, tell me what made you decide to go to Ireland?
So I had already been on my honeymoon with my husband right after we got married. So this was a year later, almost a year later.
So he did get to go.
Well, he went on a separate trip. Yep.
Okay.
Not to Ireland, but elsewhere.
Okay.
But I had always wanted to go to Ireland.
Wait, I'm going to interrupt you. Do you have a lot of pictures from the honeymoon?
Yes, that was in Costa Rica.
We got to bring you on. Okay, I had a great guest on Costa Rica, but I'd love to do it again. All right, so I interrupted you. You had been to Ireland previously.
No, I had not.
Oh, not. Okay.
I had always wanted to go, and a friend of mine from college, a good friend Lindsay, and myself always wanted to go together. We talked about doing a girls' trip for a long time, and since we were both turning 30 in 2018, we thought this is the year to do it. So we booked a girls' trip.
Okay. And Lindsay is a Bostonian?
Yes.
So you left out of Logan, had a nonstop direct to
Dublin.
Dublin, and you got to Dublin, and give me a little bit of an idea what you did.
So we actually booked a tour with a tour company.
Oh, okay.
Who took us from place to place, mostly in Southern Ireland.
Yep.
And I'd used this company before when I went on a trip to...
You can give them a name. We're not paid.
CIE International.
Okay, yep.
I'd used them before with my family to England and Scotland previously.
And you liked the way they did it.
Absolutely.
Yep. The one nice thing about the tours, I will say, is you don't have to think too much.
Exactly.
They tell you, here's where we're going, get ready at 6:30, the bus is going to pick you up, and you're ready to go.
Right.
And so you said, that's what I want. How many days were you there?
5.
5 days. Okay.
It was just a week trip.
At some point, Bill's going to show us a map, and there it is. Look at that. So there is Ireland in the orange, and all right, Northern Ireland, which is UK for the moment. And then, so you flew into Dublin, which is in big letters.
Right.
And you got to Dublin, and you checked in a hotel that they had. Well, you'll tell me. A bus picked you up at the airport?
Exactly.
Oh, that's nice. They helped you with your luggage.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Which is very helpful.
Yep.
So the prior picture to that actually was a rotary. I thought it very interesting that there was actually a traffic light in the rotary. I really thought it'd be good for us to have that here in Boston. So.
I see that. Okay.
So these were just some pictures I took sort of on the bus going to the hotel.
That looks a little like the bridge going over to Charlestown.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. They probably use the same architect and build us twice. Okay.
And this is a sign that I saw on the road. A lot of their signs are both in Gaelic and in English.
Oh, okay.
And this was just a little canal area that was beautiful.
Yeah, Ireland is... What month was this you were there?
This was October.
October.
Sort of like mid-October.
You still had pretty good weather.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
We actually had really good weather. I mean, I hear a lot of rain happens in Ireland. We actually only had one day of rain, which was really nice. So again, it's all just Dublin from the bus.
Did Dublin remind you of Boston?
Yes, in a lot of ways, certainly.
Yeah. Like that.
Yeah, so these were some painted doorways that were on some of the homes that we found interesting. Once we got to the hotel, we had some time to settle in, but then they also took us on a bus tour just around the city.
Now, what hotel did they book you at? Do you remember?
Actually, I brought it here. It was a Clayton Hotel,
okay.
Fallsbridge.
Were you happy with that?
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, all the hotels were great. And we actually got a tour of Dublin Castle as part of this bus tour, which was really nice. It sort of housed the government for a long time.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that's the outside of it. You can see there were many tour groups besides my tour group. There's about 40 or so people in the group.
That reminds me, there was a prison courtyard I remember visiting in Dublin. Yeah. All right. Whatever. But that looks similar.
Yeah, a lot of that old architecture is really, really nice.
Yep. So they had you, here we are. This is what, a church it looks like?
That's actually part of Dublin Castle as well.
Okay.
Yep, and obviously it was under construction a bit, but this is the inside.
Yep.
Just beautiful chandeliers and artwork.
That wasn't the prison I was at. Okay, this looks quite much better.
Yep, very fancy.
Yes. Now, do they still use this for what, entertaining guests of the government, or?
I don't remember offhand if they still use it actively for government purposes, but obviously for tours and historical and for tourists it's used. And you can see the royal chair there. A lot of gold.
Did they have a king, do you know, Ireland, or did they just fall under the British? No, they didn't.
I'm not that great on my history.
No, I'm not either.
But I mean, at the time they told us it's been over a year.
Well, I think they were part of the British Crown till what? They had a revolution 1918 or 20 or something and became independent.
I really love this room in particular because it had the pastel green ceiling, which was really neat.
This was all still the castle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this was impressive. I didn't go there. All right.
Well, and then all the-
See, I'll have to go back.
It was really neat. You know, they had all the flags and the paintings on the ceiling. They had the Irish flag, of course. This is my friend Lindsay and I in the courtyard of Dublin Castle.
Again, with these tours, it's nice in the sense they know where they want to bring you.
Exactly. It's all booked up.
All booked up, and they've already had guests. Did you have to fill out some kind of review at the end of the trip?
Yep.
So they know what the other guests didn't like. So they may say, we're cutting this shorter or longer.
Exactly.
So they do. I like some of those things.
Right. But there's really not that much to not like about these. It's more like than anything.
So you would say most of the things you saw you really did like.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This is...
So this is St. Patrick's Cathedral. So this was just another stop while we were in Dublin just to take photos of. And it's just a beautiful cathedral. Unfortunately, we didn't get to go inside, but just the outside architecture is really nice.
Look at the nice clear sky you got there, sunny.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we get some great
Grass
weather.
is nice and green.
So this was that night we went to a pub where we had a show, the Merry Plowboy. And there were multiple tour groups there as well. Most of the places we went were a lot of bus tours, similar to ours.
That's all right.
So.
And they had entertainment for
They
you.
did. They had a band, and they also had Irish step dancers, which was great.
Oh, okay.
So that's the band. It was a 4-piece band, but from where I was sitting, I was pretty close to the stage, so it was hard to get a picture of all 4 of them. But they played multiple instruments, which was neat, and just really talented guys. A lot of Irish songs that, you know, I know. And actually, I think the video I believe, is up next.
Very good. God bless the cell phones, huh? You took it with you.
This is actually a camera.
Oh, you okay.
Yep, a Canon camera. And these were the Irish step dancers who were very talented. They had the ladies do some of their own dance routines, and they had the guys do theirs, and then they had them together. So it was really, really neat to see.
Now, does this come video as well?
Yes, there's a video here as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was actually the Irish national anthem that he was singing.
Very nice. All right, so you finish at the Plowboy. That included a dinner?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then you what? Did you go out afterwards shopping, looking around? No.
Nope, back to the hotel.
Back to the hotel, ready to go to bed. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then they get you up the next morning.
Yep, there's not a lot of time to sleep on these trips.
Breakfast at the hotel. They had a breakfast for you? Okay.
Yep.
And I'm going to assume, Bill, you'll bring up there we go, the next day.
Yep, this is the next morning, traveling through, starting to go into the countryside away from Dublin, to our next destination. So this was just some homes along the way. I took some pictures of. So this was a sculpture there that was actually at the Rock of Cashel, which is the next photo, actually. So those are the ruins of this Rock of Cashel.
So what was that? A castle, actually?
Yep, that was used many years ago.
Yeah, it looks like it was old.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of ruins as you go drive through the
really?
countryside.
You did
Yeah,
see that?
a lot of ruins. Yeah. And we visited this woolen mills, which had a lot of the nice hand-knit Irish sweaters. I should have worn one today, actually.
Oh, you know, I remember that. They had a lot of beautiful, nice wool stuff.
Absolutely. Lots to choose from. I didn't actually get anything at this one, but I got a few souvenirs along the way to other places.
Oh, is that where the Blarney Stone
Yes,
is?
exactly.
Yes, I
yep, same
remember that.
area. So
Yep.
this is Blarney Castle. Now, I didn't actually go into Blarney Castle. My friend did. We actually separated just to have some separate time here. They have beautiful grounds, and there's a lot to explore, and we only had limited time. So I really wanted to spend my time in the gardens versus in the castle.
Did you kiss the Blarney Stone?
I didn't,
You
no.
didn't. I did. I remember that.
I just wasn't all that interested.
This is in the castle?
This is briefly inside the castle.
Okay.
I just took a step in, but when I realized how much limited time we had, I wanted to make use of it otherwise. But Lindsay actually got a few. So Lindsay got this picture from the top. This is where you kiss the Blarney Stone.
Yes, I vaguely remember.
But I was more interested in the grounds because, as you can see, it's just so beautiful and all the
Ireland
trees.
is such a beautiful country.
Absolutely.
Really is.
I mean, I could have spent all day at
Yep.
this one location.
I know it.
So,
I know it. I always said it was so pretty.
absolutely. This was
And
definitely my favorite place.
Oh, the Blarney Eric's Castle?
The gardens in
The
particular. See, they had this beautiful window with the tapestry there.
We went out to another it had been a big mansion palace or something and had become a resort. I forget the name, but it also had these gorgeous, beautiful gardens.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I better let you talk fast. Go ahead.
So, this is sort of the crypt area, or I guess underneath the Blarney Castle. It was very wet inside, so we couldn't go in too far. But they had different parts of the castle to explore, and then they had all of the gardens and garden areas to explore. So they actually gave us a map where we could explore. So this was,
really?
they had like shamrock and holly, and they had signage available for all what everything was. And this was the fern garden, which was beautiful. All different types of ferns everywhere. It was just green was obviously
I know
the
it really
color
is.
of choice.
When they call it the Emerald Island, it's because it's so green. And you saw the sod, they have that green like moss everywhere. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. It was just such a beautiful place. It just reminded me sort of like the Secret Garden, like a storybook fairy
Yep.
tale. All these little doors and so much to see. So this was actually a lime kiln that was on the
really?
grounds. Not used anymore. I had to take this picture. As we're going through, we were basically by ourselves, Lindsay and I, because it was such a big place. And all of a sudden, we just saw this dog that was just laying there, just perfectly content, and just so sweet, and just looked like it needed a friend.
He looks very happy. That's what, an Irish setter, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. No, looks very happy sitting there.
So this was, you couldn't actually go into the home that was on the grounds.
There was a house there too.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure that the purpose there, but there were a lot of areas that were sort of restricted on the grounds. You could see it just the secret garden, essentially, is what I'd call it.
This looks like a huge hedge that they've cut out and made an opening for you.
Mm-hmm. You couldn't actually go inside, so that was what was so secretive about it, I guess. And I love taking flower pictures.
Your photos are great. These were
thank
from a Canon camera that you said
Yeah, just a little
also
Canon
did
camera.
the video and everything.
Yep.
Terrific. Poison garden.
This was really interesting. As you can see on the sign there, it had all different types of poisonous plants and flowers.
Really?
Very, very
I've
interesting.
never
So
seen that.
this one is what I found interesting was tea. I didn't realize tea could be considered poisonous.
Well, if you look at those old stories they have from the old days, they give you, if they didn't like you, they'd give you a hot cup of tea. I guess it had a little of the poisons in it.
Yep. And then, of course, they had other ones like this was deadly nightshade, which I've heard it was poisonous.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
And then they had, tobacco and Marijuana, of course, there's the tobacco.
What they got to call it? Nicotina? Oh.
And this, I didn't realize that hydrangeas actually could be poisonous. I didn't realize that.
Really?
As you can see there, I think it says that you can get labored breathing as a symptom.
I really have a ton of hydrangeas around my house. That's why my wife must have planted them. She'd probably tell me.
I just took a selfie of myself in the garden area there. It's just, again, such a beautiful place. I could have been there all day.
Doesn't look like you.
Well, I had my hair in a ponytail.
I wouldn't say I wouldn't recognize you. I'd say that's a local Irish gal.
I do get mistaken for being Irish, which I'm not. Another flower picture there. So this was entering actually my favorite part of the garden is called the Rock Close. And again, it just was sort of walled off, and as you go in, it sort of just reminded you of sort of Lord of the Rings or any of those sort of fantasy stories.
It looks like they gave you a decent amount of time at this thing. That
I want to say it was probably like an hour and a half.
Really?
But to me, that was not enough time whatsoever.
Oh, I was going to say, you did a lot of photos for a...
There's just so much to explore.
Lindsay enjoyed this as well?
She did, but she was also looking for me, too. I sort of went off and wandered. And
well, you got to give me a cell phone number. Call me.
Exactly. We didn't think to do that. So, well, we had each other's phones, but...
Now, this was...
actually look like it's supposed to look like a witch, this rock. You can sort of see the face in the outline there at the side. This was a set of stairs actually going down to a beautiful waterfall area.
Oh, and that's it, the waterfall.
Yep, just so gorgeous. We saw there were a couple of waterfalls actually throughout the gardens. And there were different signs that had explanations of what made it so magical. It's just a really interesting place.
Isn't that funny? I don't remember. See, I probably didn't spend enough time there.
I just didn't even realize they had that. I thought the Blarney Stone was just the Blarney Stone at the castle. I didn't realize there was this whole...
That's what I thought. I went with my son. I remember we had a great time, but I don't remember seeing all this beautiful stuff. Oh, look at that. Nice statue.
There's a lot of plant life. It's just gorgeous.
Now, what are those? Is that some kind of fern, you think?
I'm not sure, but they were just humongous, these leaves. Another waterfall. And bamboo.
And this is what, a little playhouse or something?
Yeah, it was just part of that whole fairy garden, I call it. I'm not sure what those are, but they looked very interesting.
You know, I would almost think you were in a tropical setting. A lot of the plants looked... I don't know how the weather is year-round. Did they mention to you at all anything, how it is in January? Or
They probably did. I don't recall offhand.
Because I was going to say, it honestly looked like a tropical environment.
Right. But it was definitely cool. I mean, most of the time we were there, we were wearing sweatshirts. I dressed in layers, but the mornings were very cool, as were the nights. During the day, it was, like fall, essentially.
Like fall.
Yeah.
All right, so you finished the Blarney Stone Castle. Blarney Castle, I think it's called.
Yeah, and gardens.
And garden. Yeah. And then they say, all right, come on, Jamie, Lindsay, get on the bus, we're ready to go.
Right.
And that's at night now.
Yes, so we drove to Killarney, which was our next stop. We're actually at this hotel for 2 nights in Killarney.
Oh, you're done with Dublin.
Oh, yeah, we were done with Dublin like a while ago.
Okay, so now you're on your way where to Killarney?
Killarney.
I've heard of Killarney. Okay.
It's a very beautiful village area. So this is standing near the street. You can see some of the architecture there. There are a lot of restaurants and pubs and stores, a lot to explore there.
And the bus took you right, no problem.
Yep. So this is actually McGillicuddy. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Reeks. So this was a beautiful mountainous area and a lake. And this was early in the morning, the next morning. And they had a horse that was nearby. It was just a very beautiful setting to take a picture. We actually took a group photo with the group there.
How many people on your tour would you say?
40 or 50, however much could fill a bus.
Oh, they did fill it right up?
Yeah, exactly. And this was a cemetery. We passed right by that lake, and our bus driver, who was very, very funny, made a joke that the person who invented the crossword puzzle was buried there.
Oh, really?
And you can find him because he's 3 down and 6 across, or something like that. So.
Did you make friends on the bus? Did you find with this group, did you meet other people around?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. A lot of meals together, so a lot of people to meet from all different places. Mostly U.S.
Mostly U.S.
Yeah.
Okay.
But some Canadians. There was a couple there actually who were American but living in Korea.
Oh, okay. So you found it was nice. You got along with a lot of the people.
Absolutely. So that was a rainbow that we got to see, which was really neat. That was a panorama. I got a lot of the pictures I took were countryside, driving through the countryside, taking pictures outside or inside the bus. This was King Puck.
Okay, tell me.
I don't recall exactly, or I might not say exactly what the celebration is, but they have some sort of celebration around this King Puck goat that they crown and have a festival around.
And this is, we're still in Killarney.
This is driving through that area, but during the day we'd go places and then come back to the hotel in Killarney. This is train tracks. So this gentleman, our bus driver pointed out, was actually a priest who saved a lot of people during the Holocaust.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay.
So
Hugh O'Flaherty, it looks like. Okay.
So sort of part of the Catholic resistance.
And they gave him a big mural. Mm-hmm. Oh, there was a Catholic resistance. Why? Had Ireland, were they with, see, I don't know my history, were they with the Axis? Were they with the Germans? Or did Germany...
Well, I think there was a resistance either way that fought against it. I know they had that in Denmark, but I didn't realize they had that in Ireland as well.
They might have been because they were anti-England, and England was obviously with the U.S. against the German and the Axis. They could have been either independent. Maybe one of our viewers will call in and yell at me, and I'll know to find out the story. But they might have been sided with Germany because of their dislike for the British crown. I know they never liked. I'm always very careful, even today, if I talk to people from Ireland, I don't say anything about the Queen.
Right.
So there is that history.
Right. So this is again beautiful countryside and farms that we drove past. So this was our next stop, which was the Skellig experience. There are these 2 islands that are actually, you can't actually get to them unless you go by boat.
Okay.
Far off the coast from Ireland. And they actually were home to Christian monks for a long time. And they built these interesting little sculptured houses out of stone. And they're famous now because they were actually featured in one of the recent Star Wars films.
And you went to these islands?
No. We went to an experience. Like it was like it was sort of like a museum in honor of
like
them.
The Museum of Science has an area with all the birds from Antarctica or something.
Right, exactly. So it was a way to give you a taste of what it's like without actually going there. So there was a movie, and they tell you about it and the history. And especially now that Star Wars was sort of...
I see they got a little something over there. It looks like an elf or something.
Oh, no, that's the monk.
Leprechaun?
No,
that's a monk.
Yep, that's a monk.
He looks like a leprechaun.
I had shepherd's pie. So we had lunch in this area. It sort of reminded me a little bit of the Cape or Rockport.
Oh, okay.
That area that we were in where they had the Skellig experience. We went to that red restaurant there called The Mooring, where we had the shepherd's pie, and there was a little gift shop where you can get some fudge.
They had fudge, okay.
So you can't actually see the islands from that area. This was actually using my Zoom because they're very far out from the shoreline. But people can actually pay to take boats out there, but it's very rocky. There's no dock or anything.
How did you find most of the food you had?
Very good.
You liked it?
No complaints there.
No complaints. Good.
So again, countryside there. This is driving away from where those Skellig Islands are. So this was actually a Charlie Chaplin statue that we passed in one of the villages. I believe it's Waterville. And this was actually a favorite holiday spot for Charlie Chaplin, so they made a statue in his honor.
Oh, he used to travel there. I didn't know. You
Apparently.
see, look what you learn.
Yep. This is a lookout area that we got to take a picture from. And this is a beach. Obviously, this was October, so nobody was at the beach, but.
I'm sure that water is cold, though.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So this was driving again through the countryside on our way to a sheepdog farm experience.
A sheepdog, okay.
Yeah.
So they're gonna. Is it where they raise sheep and they have a dog who's gonna hustle the sheep around?
Exactly.
Shepherd the sheep.
But before we got there, we actually drove through this little village
This
that had
looks
these
very
beautiful
pretty.
painted homes.
Yep.
And we got some ice cream that was really good there.
You felt like you were in New England.
Yeah, a little bit. So this was part of the sheepdog experience. So we got to meet the farmhand and talk about how the sheepdogs actually herd the sheep and how they make the wool and all of that. And the dogs were gorgeous. So there was one main dog that was doing the herding, and then there was a dog in training. So the little puppy was on top of the rock.
I have a German Shepherd, and she herds me. Yeah, honest to God, I come down the hall, she pushes me, come on, take me for a cookie. She gets me in the kitchen, she barks at me, give me a cookie, give me a cookie. They have that natural.
Wait. Jacob sheep, they can build up to 6 farms, by the way. Anything between 0.
Wait. Sit down. Walk up, bike, sit here, sit. Bike. Walk again.
So the mountain sheep are of course used to the bony and rocky ground. Especially training on that ground. Every dog is only doing 2 demonstrations per day, then we change the dogs. But of course we also change the sheep. So it's not a demonstration flock, it's only part of the big flock. And all the sheep are coming back to the farm.
So that shows you sort of the herding experience.
Yeah, they really, those dogs really got them hustling those sheep. Now, did they show you a shearing too?
So that's actually the next video.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
And August. And then for the first week and a half in October, John sheared some of the baby lambs and he put them indoors for the winter months. And the reason he puts them indoors for the winter months, that's for their health and hygiene. So when they go in for the winter, then they're protected from the cold. And the reason you shear them, they have a lighter coat of wool inside. Now in the summer, John can shear an average of 200 to 300 sheep every whole day. 200 to 300. And when John is shearing the sheep, he always keeps rotating and moving the sheep. That way it's easy on John and it's easy on the sheep. The Guinness Book of World Record for sheep shearing by electric was set a couple of years ago, where somebody shore a total of 987 sheep in 9 hours. 987. And the skill of shearing is very much like you or me go to a physiotherapist or a chiropractor. When John is shearing the sheep, he always keeps rotating, moving the sheep. That way it's easy on John and it's easy on the sheep. And that wool now is classified as baby wool, and that's the wool that go for the making of high quality wool sweaters. Now the first thing John will do is to apply his identification. Every farmer, different colours, different identification. So the identification John put on the sheep is 2 dots of red on their back. So every farmer, different colours, different identification. And when you're driving along your touring coach or car, you'll see the different coloured sheep. So every farmer, different colours. And the 2 popular colours are red and blue, then followed by green and purple. But red and blue are the 2 popular colours. Now, John never leave the sheep alone. When they're short, they'll go back in with their friends. And sheep like to stay together in a flock.
Now, I couldn't hear the video. So what is the color? He put red paint on
It's an identification marker. Yep, so each farmer has a different marking. So as we were driving through a lot of the countryside, we saw sheep with different color markings on them.
Oh, so that's how they designate who owns the sheep. Now, is this region considered a big sheep raising area?
I would say all of Ireland, probably. I saw more sheep than I could count throughout the whole trip.
Well, wool is a big item. And I don't know if did they say they took some of them after a certain age and made them into lamb chops, so they didn't go there?
I don't want to know.
Okay. Well, they do, I don't know if they do it there. Maybe they just raise most of them for the wool.
Well, we certainly were in plenty of stores where they were selling wool items.
Yep.
So it's certainly a hot business there. So this was, again, driving through countryside. We saw some deer in the woods. Again, it just seemed, everywhere we went seemed like a fairy garden, just magical.
Yeah, it's
like from a storybook.
It is. Oh, look at this. This is an old church.
Just, again, very reminiscent of stories. So Killarney actually is considered a tidy town. They got this award, and they give them to different villages. It's sort of like a clean award, or clean village award.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Which I thought was kind of neat. So we left Killarney and actually took a ferry over the River Shannon to get to our next destination. And the bus could actually go on that ferry, which was interesting. It's a big
So
bus.
the whole bus, you jumped on the ferry. Okay.
Yep, very foggy, as you can tell. But we made it to the other side and started driving through again.
I
more
see the
countryside.
big electric windmills back there. Did you see a lot of that?
Not too much, but from time to time we did see that. Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of cows, of course, too, and these stone walls were everywhere you went. This was St. Bridget's Well. So it's actually, and it's a cemetery as well, a religious site and a holy site, I guess you could say. And you can actually go inside the well area. And the next photo actually has people would tape up pictures of loved ones throughout the entire length of the wall. And at the end is the actual well. Then we went to the Cliffs of Moher.
Oh, yes. I remember. Beautiful.
Yep, very beautiful place. I have a lot of beautiful photos, but this is probably the best one. There's actually a butterfly flying at the bottom there.
Again, the water looks cold.
Yes, absolutely. So that's just me at the Cliffs of Moher.
Yeah, no, I do see you dressed warmly.
And then we actually went to a pub that had a sign, Green Monster Seats, so a little Boston connection there. And then we went to Bunratty Castle. We actually saw medieval entertainment that night.
Oh, really? Now, how old, did they tell you how old this castle is?
I don't remember offhand, but yeah,
That's okay.
everything there is pretty old. So.
Pretty old.
This is where at the grounds. It sort of reminded me of Sturbridge Village a little bit.
It also looks like, when they do the fairy tales, Hansel and Gretel,
Yep,
and-
exactly.
Oh, so it had a thatched roof.
We saw a bunch of those actually throughout the trip. We went
Here's the
inside.
entertainment. Yep.
Yep.
Oh, and they're in classic costume.
And we had dinner here, so it was one of those dinners where they don't give you silverware.
Oh,
So you have to eat
really?
with your hands
Okay.
for everything, which is not so pleasant, but just to give you the medieval experience.
Oh, that was part of the medieval experience.
Yes, exactly.
What'd they serve you? Do you remember?
Stuff that I would not eat with my
Okay.
like you had, potatoes, but mostly not stuff I would want, without silverware. So the band was very good there.
I see Massachusetts State Police. What was that?
Oh, yeah, so this was actually after we had the medieval experience with the singers singing, Irish songs, including the one you heard. There was a pub across the way that was actually an old brothel. And they have all sorts of badges throughout of all
Of
the different
customers?
well, basically police officers, firemen who visited the brothel or the
And
club.
sure enough, there was the Commonwealth.
Right, exactly. So I saw the Massachusetts State Police. I actually saw a Newton police. There were a couple of recognizable badges that were hung on the wall. So, so sort of a neat little thing.
That was what you discovered in Ireland. At an ex-brothel, we had the Mass State Police. Okay.
Yes, exactly. So very interesting.
Oh, leave it for Massachusetts. Okay.
So the next day we went to Galway.
Oh, yes.
So a very neat little city, and this was actually a university, a technical university, I believe. So we got to see some of the sights as we drove along. The canals there. So this was actually, we went to a marble factory, which actually was two separate buildings across the street
where
from
they
each
make
other.
glass marbles?
Marble items, things that are made
okay.
out of marble. So we actually had a tea and scones. There's a really neat place. They actually had peat in the fireplace.
That's
so it
what
had
I
that smell.
remember seeing too. The peat they burn. Yes.
So this was actually probably my second favorite thing next to the Blarney Gardens. Just because I love tea and I love scones, and so that was neat. And then also seeing the marble factory was very neat. So they had all neat artifacts throughout. This was actually part of the tour with the marble factory, all the different types of marble that they would show us.
Now, do you recall did they tell you most of the marble was from Ireland?
Yes.
Oh, really? Because
Yeah.
I never think of Ireland for marble.
Yeah, well, apparently there's 5 different kinds. And so I actually bought a souvenir bracelet while I was there that has the 5 different kinds of marble in it. That's their most
Oh.
popular selling item. But they have a whole store where you can buy all sorts of little
Really?
sculptures.
I'm sure, and I never think, marble, I guess, comes from everywhere. But I never thought of it from Ireland.
Yeah.
I love stone, so
Oh, yeah.
interesting.
You would like this place then. It was really, really
I would.
neat.
I like stone.
Yeah.
I've always liked those big slabs from different countries, and Brazil has blues, and I've seen, oh God, so many different colors from everywhere. But Ireland, I didn't know.
Well, this actually shows the gentleman working on some of the jewelry that they sell. So this was back in Galway. We got to have lunch on our own and explore the area. And now this was October, but similar to America, it's always Christmas time early.
Yep.
So a lot of the stores were already decorated for the holidays. And similar to America as well, and you could see at the bottom of that department store, all the windows had all the decorative holiday gear.
Did you find the economy seem pretty good? Did people say to you things are good here in Ireland, or you didn't really discuss too much?
I mean, we were in mostly tourist areas,
Yep.
so this was their bread and butter,
Yep.
per se. So it was hard to know what really otherwise.
I
but-
tell you, I don't know when we'll be showing this on television, but right now, with China going through the coronavirus and everything, tourism has really taken a hit. Because, as a matter of fact, I had a friend, he was planning a trip down a Turkish river cruise or something, and he and his wife decided, we're not going, because you're seeing all this stuff with people stuck on cruise ships, quarantined for 2 weeks, so tourism, I think, globally may be taking a little bit of a hit with all this virus coming out of China.
Right, it's really unfortunate.
Yes. Oh, no, it is. It's affecting a lot. But not Ireland.
So this was actually our only rainy day. You can see it was a bit cloudy and overcast. But we got to explore a lot of the shopping areas, and we had a nice little lunch at a little cafe. It's just a neat city. This was actually a Gaelic school that we drove by.
Now, when you say a Gaelic school, meaning they teach them how to speak, oh, really? So they're trying to keep that language active.
Absolutely. And our bus driver actually said, I believe, that everyone is taught both Gaelic and English there.
Oh, I didn't
anyway.
know that. Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was strictly
Yeah, that's why a lot of the signs had, at the beginning, had both Gaelic and English written.
I thought it was strictly, an English-speaking country. Oh, they do promote the Gaelic. Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Good to know.
So this is driving back to Dublin. So we
Yep.
did, as I said, a lot of the southern regions. We sort of made a big circle, essentially. And this is going back into Dublin, past the Guinness factory, which we did not get to go to, though I hear it is a very popular tour to go on.
Oh yeah, that Guinness tour is a big tour.
Yes, absolutely. So this is Lindsay and I with our bus driver, Bob. So unlike my tour that I took in England and Scotland, where there was a bus driver and a tour guide, Bob was actually both.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep, so he had a little microphone as he was driving, so I don't know how he could multitask, but he did a wonderful job, told us a lot of stories along the way, and he was just a very, very funny guy. A lot of funny stories.
Now, did you, like when you went to some of the places, did they bring on a local guide for you or no?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, okay.
But it was actually Bob who did the majority of it.
Because you're right, usually you have a driver and a guide, and sometimes they even have a guide who's specific to that region.
Right. Yeah, but Bob was very, very funny. He told this very funny story of growing up in a large family, and again, there was some falsehood to this, I'm sure.
That's all
but
right.
he talked about how he was the youngest of all his siblings, and they were all girls. He was the only boy, and how he, when his mother would put them all to bed, she would say, you know, and I guess his sisters used to wet the bed. And so when his mother used to put him to bed, he'd said, "Give me the shallow end." Because they all used to sleep. They were poor, I guess, and slept on this. Anyway, it was one of those,
The Irish always have these great sayings that are very funny anyway.
Exactly.
So I find them, they have, like that, unique sayings, give me the shallow end.
Exactly.
Now, oh my God, this looks like a pyramid.
Yeah, so this is the Millennium Tower. So we said actually goodbye to Bob here. This was our last night, and we got to just basically explore Dublin on our own before we went to bed in the hotel and then left the next day. So Lindsay and I, we found this Millennium Tower, which is a more modern pole, basically, that they built, that apparently a lot of the Irish hate.
Oh, they hate it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's kind of an eyesore.
You mean, it doesn't fit in with their typical architecture.
Exactly. So we actually got to go to the Jameson factory. This was in the evening, and we weren't quite sure what to do with ourselves. So we asked the person at the hotel what they recommended. That was still open, because the Guinness factory at the time had actually closed for the day. So Jameson was still open. Now, I'm not a drinker by any sense of the word, so...
Well, that's their famous Irish whiskey.
Right, but I was interested in how they make things. I'm
Yep.
always interested in how they make different items, so that was more what I was interested in.
Oh, great. So you got over there, and did they have a dining room also? A restaurant?
Well, they had, it wasn't a restaurant, it was just more a place to hang out and more like a bar.
And that's the original Jameson family.
Yep, and his wife. So they talked about the history of the factory, and how even when there was a rebellion, Jameson actually still paid his workers, which I thought was really nice. So it was kind of an interactive tour. A lot of technology was used to sort of showcase both the historical part, but also how they make the whiskey. So they had different lights and videos and things that would play on this table. And then they actually showed you how they made it. And it was very interactive because they had like smelling stations, and
really?
You could actually feel in the middle station like the grains or however they make it. So it was very interesting. And then you could smell the difference between bourbon and sherry. It's just all the different
this
steps.
Looks very interesting.
Yeah, it was nice because it wasn't just a like here's this, here's that. It was interactive, which I thought was really neat. And again, sort of using technology to make the tour interesting. Because at this particular factory, they don't actually make it there. It's actually
this is a museum.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So where do they make it? Nearby
It was in the suburbs. They said more a suburban area. So.
Probably a big modern factory that
exactly.
doesn't have all the charm of the old building.
Right, exactly. They used to do it there at that city building, but no, and it's just more for tourists now.
Well, that's all right.
But that was a lot of fun. And on the way walking back...
They have a tasting? Did they give you a little whiskey?
They give you a little tasting, but
Yep.
my friend and I sort of turned our noses up at that. So...
they're a global product. They sell, that's
absolutely.
a big seller globally.
Yep. So this was, since our last night, we wanted to go to a fun restaurant, and we couldn't have picked a better one. This is called Church.
Yep.
So it's actually in an old church. They built this restaurant and actually a nightclub as well. And you can see they have all the old church features, but a bar in the middle of what used to be the church. And what's really neat was I actually went to go find the bathroom at one point,
Yeah.
and apparently it's down where the crypts used to be.
Oh.
So you go down this long set of stairs, down and down and down.
Well, they have a sense of humor, so that's where the restrooms were. Okay.
Exactly, but
Past the dead people on the right and the dead on the left.
right, which they don't have that anymore. But you could tell you're going down and down. You're like, "Where's the bathroom already?" So it was just a really neat place.
And knowing
you can see
the
old
Irish, they
organ.
probably have jokes. Well, those are the customers who didn't make it to the bathroom.
Exactly.
This is what they had, a big organ.
Yep. So it was such a neat place, and really, really good food too.
Oh, the food was good there.
Very
all right.
good. Yeah, I would definitely go back there. And that was it.
That was the trip.
Yep.
So what's next for you? The next one, I assume, has to be with your husband.
At some point. We've done some trips since Ireland. This was over a year ago.
Where have you been?
So we actually went back to Denmark.
Yep.
And we went to Sweden as well as part of
How
that
did
trip.
you like Sweden?
It was great.
It was great. You
Yeah.
you were very optimistic with all your trips and very cheery with it.
I really enjoy traveling.
Good,
So.
good. And what are you planning next?
We don't actually have any plans. Alan's cousin from Denmark actually is going to be coming to stay with us this summer. So.
I have one of my vendors is going to Denmark next month, and she has family there. She said, but the Danes are very angry. I says, what do you mean? She says, well, they're getting consumed by non-Danish taking over the country. She says they're losing their Danish culture. I says, well, that's typical in a lot of European countries because they're not, how do I put it, the standard traditional Europeans are not having enough children. So with the lack of the children, a lot of the foreigners are coming in and they're having kids.
Right.
So she said, well, Denmark's changing. I'll let you know, Jack. Because I always ask where you're going, what's happening.
Right.
So his cousin's coming.
Yep, from Denmark, and he'll stay with us. So I'm sure we'll go back at some point. But
Oh, lovely, lovely country. All right. Well, thank you so
Right,
much
well,
for
thank you.
coming. I loved
Absolutely.
having you. You got to come
here.
back. You're a terrific guest, and you take great pictures.
oh, thank you.
Yep. So tell Alan, thank you. Maybe you'll come together on the next show.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
All right.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you again.
Thank you.
My pleasure.